Okay, we'll do this actually. Hello. This is the 2024 March favorites. Just a quick little warning. I am sick still. It's possible you can hear it on my voice. I think I had a sinus infection or something. I'm a bit low on the spirits, and I didn't manage to actually watch that much this month. Because again, I was sick. I was actually sick earlier this month too. But, you know. So, we're just gonna do a little bit less, a little more subdued. So it'll be shorter, but that's sometimes fun too. But I'm not gonna waste my time. My name is Taylor. This is the stuff that I watched this month. Let's get going to it. So the first one is, we can actually zoom in, I just realized here. The Dangers in My Heart Season 2. The Dangers in My Heart Season 2 was good. I think I said we can put it up. Oh, I get so many DMs and notifications. What did I... No, not quite yet. There it is. Yeah, I said a pretty pitch perfect middle school rom-com, looks at first love from basically every conceivable angle, doing it also very tightly and adorably, makes every episode feel like a big milestone, probably does as well as one can do in the genre, and oh, my voice cracked there, and I would continue to say that. I think the best thing with The Dangers of My Heart, or Bucchigir, is that when I say that every episode feels like a big milestone, it means that basically every episode reaches a new first time. Like, the first time one person admits they like the other. Like, even if it's in private for themselves, but like the first time that they do that, or the first time that they're over at each other's houses, the first time they're in each other's clothes, the first time they have a culture festival, the first time they go on like a class trip together, So it's all this, each episode basically has one of these first times without feeling forced or overwrought or like we're just hitting a checklist. It all feels very natural. And it also makes it feel like the relationship does progress every single episode because we're going through stuff and they're getting closer and they're getting to know each other more. Maybe it's a slight spoiler, but we reached a point in their relationship where they can basically be together now. I thought we wouldn't. I thought it was still ongoing. I don't know if they're a couple in the manga. Not sure I'm interested in reading it, but I'll definitely watch another season if it comes out. But I don't think there's enough. Excuse me. I don't think there's enough material for that yet. But it's very good. I mean, basically does everything that you can with a bit of good romance. It has a bit of a ceiling for me just personally, not anything in its own detriment. Just kind of, this is all that this kind of a story can do for me. But I mean, I quite like it. And yeah, that's what I said. I think it does as well as much as you can do with the genre. So it's a pretty pristine example, a platonic ideal of the middle school rom-com. Where would we put it? Where would we put it? We might put it... Oh, it's confusing actually. Would we put it... I'll say... A. My finger didn't reach. A. We'll put it in A. It is good. It is very good. The next one I watch is this. Birdy, the Mighty Decode Season 1. I'm hesitant to speak on this one too much because I feel like I want to watch the second season or the second core or whatever, part 2, before I comment on it as a whole. But so far, from the first season that I did watch, it was okay. It was fine. I was disappointed. I thought it would look better, but it looks mediocre. Like, not even good, but not as good as I thought it would. Just mediocre. It looks very 2000s. Doesn't move a whole lot, honestly. I mean, there are some sequences by the end, specifically the last 3 episodes, maybe, where, those are cool action scenes. They, like, put in the work here, but it doesn't look like that at all most of the time. Otherwise, the characters and story very tropey, very cliche, and boring. I was bored. I don't see anything special with this. Again, I watched it because I thought it would be this Sakuga Fest, which I do recognize is mostly known, like the Sakuga parts that I've seen on Boru. It's mostly in the second half, so that's why I'm still hesitant to. And I think the story takes a more serious turn. But yeah, it's okay, but I can't say I really liked it. Put it at C, probably. C, yeah. Sorry, just not that good. The next one is Idolmaster Million Live. You see, we're going through this quite quickly, because I just don't have that much to say about a lot of these. I didn't get through a lot, but it'll be a short video. Maybe some people you usually don't watch would watch this time. Again, I'm usually a bit more lively and enthusiastic, but I'm sick. Anyway, the Idolmaster Million Live. Idolmaster has kind of found a formula for itself now. You know, it's the three girls. The main girl is usually the cheery, I call her the Hanukkah type from Love Live. But obviously, the first Idolmaster came out before, I think, the game at least. So she started a progenitor. But it's, you know, the bubbly, cheerful girl who, you know, I want to be an idol. Do you want to be an idol? Let's become idols. Very idol. Million Live, hence the name, has like 1 million girls. I think we're up, I mean, in the opening, like all the main girls, 30 of them. I think I counted, so it's in the, I mean, the low 30s, maybe more 28 to 30 rather than 35 to 38, but 30 girls around there. It's too much. I realized that this is more so maybe a fun little anime for fans of the game. So that, oh yeah, this is my character. Yeah, they would react like this. But for me, it was fine. It was just very, you know, we're going through the motions, hitting all the checkpoints. I like the Idolmaster formula. It's nothing bad or anything. But it's just very, you know, by the fashions, you know, typical Idolmaster story. So I can't say it did anything different. Actually, the thing that was different about it is that it's CG. But it looks fantastic. I'd argue maybe the best CG I've seen besides Studio Orange, who did, you know, Land of the Lustrous or Hosogurukuni and Beastars. They still had the crown, obviously, but of course the stories allow for a bit more to do with the CG. But I thought this looked fantastic. The character models and the acting and looked great. Honestly, I wouldn't, you know, have a problem if more seasons were CG, if they looked like that. But of course, you can't go truly, you know, crazy creativity-wise because you have to keep them on models. But if you're not going to do that anyway, and it's going to be just a pretty standard animated show, then you might as well do CG if it's going to look like this, because then it might just look better. But yeah, you know, fun little Idolmaster thing. Where would I put it? Oh. Actually, where would I put it? I don't want to put it... Let's put it in C. Both, I was more so disappointed with this one, but this was just gonna... It's fine. It's normal. So, yeah, we can put it there. What else do we have? Doctor Who, the complete first series. This is the first season of the 2005. Not reboot, like remake, relaunch. It continues with the classic series ended. If you didn't know, Doctor Who started in like 1969. And then it continued to like maybe late 80s, early 90s. But then it ended because it got bad apparently. So I haven't seen the classic. I'm not too interested. I mean, at some point I will. But, you know, I'm not eager. But it got cancelled basically. And then maybe... I don't know, 10 years later, Russell T Davies, the showrunner, restarted it. And I think the show ended, like the classic show, ended with the 8th Doctor, and this is the 9th Doctor. Oh, well, there was a movie in between with... anyway, you don't have to know. But yeah, that's this is the first season of the 2005 Doctor Who, which is the one that's currently going on. It's fantastic. I'd argue it's probably... Not even probably, it's definitely one of the best seasons in the entire show. I mean, what do we even bring up? Davis does a lot of interesting things with it, actually. He takes a very... I'm still rewatching it. Well, I'm rewatching a couple of episodes with my dad, and one of the things that Davis likes to do is that he tends to take a very easy on the lore. The fact that the Doctor's home planet, for example, isn't mentioned until just this last Christmas special, which I think is just after season 2. That's the first time. They're very light on the whole, his actual alien species, and so they introduce that very slowly. Davis also changed it so that in between the Council Lord show and this new show, there was a time war which wiped out his entire species. So he's the last of the Time Lords, because that's what his species is called. Which gives him a bit more of a gritty focus, some trauma to ground the character, and giving something to to tug on. And it makes it interesting because then he meets different... Well, for example, he meets the Daleks, right? And then the Daleks say, maybe give him a sort of proposition where, okay, you can destroy us and defeat us in battle, but then you have to destroy, like, this entire innocent race of human people. What are you going to do? Are you going to become like Daleks? Are you going to, or will you be a coward and not commit genocide? I'm hesitant on giving too much away if new people are watching it, but it really is fantastic. The first 2 episodes are basically 2-parters. I think it was originally supposed to air together, but it was on too short notice or something. So watch the first 2 episodes together. But it's great. I think actually let's talk about it. If you haven't seen it, skip this section. But we're gonna dig in. Full on Doctor Who Series 1. There they are. What are the episodes? Right, Rose. It was such a long time ago that I watched the original show, or the second season, of this 2005 reboot. You're gonna have to forgive me for the fan, but it's too hot in here. Or I sweat because I'm nervous. But anyway, Rose is the girl here. She's fantastic. I didn't remember how much from the first season before I just rewatched it at the beginning of the month. Because we'll get to it because I also rewatched parts of the second season. But I'm not too big of a fan of her in the second season, which she is the most famous for with her romance with that Doctor. But she's pretty great in this first season. I like her a lot with Eccleston's Doctor, the Ninth Doctor here. And I think they push each other a lot, and they both learn from each other, and she's really charming. It's just a normal, down-to-earth girl. And of course, she gets to kick ass and save the day in the end, which is great. I think she's great. And then so Rose basically takes place in the normal time, the normal age, the present back then, which was 2005. And they had plastic mannequins attack her, and then the next episode is called The End of the World, which this is annoying actually. I don't want to spoil by showing text. Doctor Who. Anyway, they go to the future, and then the 3rd episode they go to the past. So that's basically the structure that most Doctor Who seasons do. So present, future, past. Here we go. This is much better actually. And then, let's see, what's interesting. There are a lot of interesting shows. This was pretty standard alien invasion of the Earth. And, what do politicians do to counter that? And the Doctor gets involved. Yada yada. The Dalek is the first time, of course, that the Daleks are introduced into the show. Possibly the best the Daleks have ever been is in this season. Not just here, but also later on in the season finale. I think they're at the scariest, the most cunning. It's difficult to get the Daleks right. People say, they were quite scary back in the classic show, and the new show has struggled to... I don't know if they actually were that scary. I think it's difficult to make Daleks scary. They're kind of inherently silly. I think they're kind of cute, actually. But I thought this one was particularly scary in this one. And it never really reached the heights again after the season. Even the long game, which is an episode which definitely struggles, but it has some really interesting ideas. I think it would have needed a fully fledged novel to flesh everything out. Oh my god, I'm remembering how good a season is. Father's Day, for example, I cried a bit. Rose goes back to meet her dead dad and saves him, and then how does reality change after that? Then the empty child and the doctor dances, the first two-parter Moffat. I'm not gonna recap everything but it's really good. I think one of the best things about the season is Eggerson's Doctor has a clear sort of character arc from beginning to end. A lot of the season is actually what it's building up to his death, or his regeneration, but that is the death of the Ninth Doctor. And every episode kind of grapples with death in some way. For example, the second episode grapples with, Rose gets to see the death of the Earth. And then the third episode is literally dealing with ghosts. So a lot of the episodes have a deal with the theme of death in some ways. It's very natural and felt very obvious that Eckerson was obviously going to regenerate at the end of the season. But apparently that was a quick thing that immediately had to be decided because of behind the scenes things. It wasn't planned, but I feel like thematically it was obviously building up to that. So I'm a bit hesitant to see what would have happened if he stayed a second season anyway. But of course, more Eckerson would be lovely. Yeah, no, it's fantastic. If you're gonna try it, watch the first 2 episodes together. But it's great, and I think it's wonderful that Davis managed to craft such an extremely strong first season to introduce the show. So you don't have to say, "Oh, we'll wait until Tennant comes here" or something. But then it gets really good. You can just first season. First season is fantastic, arguably better than most of Tennant's seasons. And then just that's it. That's all I need. I will put it at S. It is that good. S. What is the next one after that? Dungeon Meshi. I haven't continued with this one too much. I watched a few episodes. I think I watched like episode 7. We're in episode 13 now. Again, I'm behind. I was sick. But I liked it more and more for every episode. I was a bit slow on getting into it. But the last episodes have been really fun. So I really have nothing more to say about this one that I haven't already talked about before. But I think it's really fun. I hear that around the middle, episode 11, 12 something, it gets dark and it starts to show its more serious side, and that's fun. I think it's gonna be great. And nothing specific to say. Again, this is gonna be a short video, but we'll put it at B. Next, Sign of Affection. Good news, it got better. The issue that I had with A Sign of Affection at first was the framing of its zombie, who I thought was pretty intrusive and kind of controlling. And I remember, a lot of scenes where he kind of gets touchy and into her personal space. And even one where not her best friend by any means, but her childhood friend comes along and he covers her eyes, and it's like, who gives you the right to? She's babied by a lot of them. Even a mom who doesn't bother learning sign language for her deaf daughter. And then, she says, oh, you have a curfew of 9 p.m. She's a college student. But it gets better. Itsuomi is portrayed better later on as more so someone who doesn't really understand, or is kind of bumbling and just does stuff without thinking. But it's also really respectful towards her and tries to navigate everything nicely, and also asks for permission. And still the whole intrusive thing happens sometimes, but it's much better portrayed as obliviousness on his part, and he's really respectful overall. So that issue actually went away at the framing. I think the author just needed time to get it right on how she should portray Itsuomi. So what is I left with? We're left with a pretty bland romance story anyway. I don't really care for Itsuomi either way. I think he's too perfect. He's too much of a hunk. He's too much of a of a, you know, wonderful, handsome little guy, and I have issues with, not issues, but I just have difficulties with romance stories that are these perfect, beautiful people who can never do anything wrong, and we are supposed to watch there and feel good about it. Not that I can't. I mean, Tsukigakiri is a middle school romance, for example. That's one of my favorites, and it's two really sweet kids. So I mean, but I feel like I need a bit more to bite at here. So it's really bland to me, to be honest. That's it. That's the biggest fault. Look, I'll admit it, the framing got better, but now it's boring. That's what it is. So where would I have to put it? Well, I wouldn't say it's awful or anything, so see. It's just Expert is so low leveling. So low leveling was when I talked about recently on Twitter. Again, you can follow me there. So low leveling is an interesting one. I think it started out kind of interesting for me. I think it did. I think it was interesting that we took time with this weak guy, and I thought the whole system and the leveling things and the different dungeons and challenges and prizes and rewards and that whole system and how that worked. I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was a fun way to like get him stronger. But ever since he actually got stronger, ever since he stopped being a twink and he got his haircut and yada yada, he's boring. His personality has just disappeared. Now it's just a hunk, like Itsumi. But even less of a personality. Nothing to him. He has no interesting thoughts. When there aren't fight scenes, he just talks about like the mechanics, like the video game mechanics. It's like, oh, I got these points, and oh, I can use this then. And even if fights aren't that, I mean, they look good. Don't get me wrong. But I was kind of hoping for more One Punch Man ridiculousness, and like really big, like weird fights. But I was just, he goes into caves. Sometimes there's wolves. Sometimes there's goblins, or maybe a really big serpent. Maybe a living armor. Skeletons. It's just standard monsters, really. Again, they look good, but that's just pretty animation. Like, I watched the Sakuga Boru without, you know, having to know the entire fucking story. Yeah, it's just, it's empty to me. I think it's boring. I think it could be more fun if it just was, you know, if you just wanted to be a power fantasy, you know, with big, cool action scenes, then do that. This is just lame. Where would I put it? I would have put it in D. It wasn't actively bad, it's just boring. Again, I don't think anything that the writing is actually bad or anything. It's just, whatever. Oh, what's next? Bucchigir. Bucchigir is a disappointment, which is sad because when I started watching it, I thought, this is really fun. It has a really fun, specific, unique energy and charm to it. And I thought the writing was generally witty as well. Probably mostly came down to the directing though. But it's just, at this point, there's more plot, and I don't have any reason to care. I feel like this is the main guy. We haven't got any reason why I should care about him. He doesn't do anything. He tries to avoid the plot at all cost. Nothing's happening. He hasn't grown. He doesn't really have any interest besides getting laid, and even that isn't like, it doesn't really do anything much about it either, which could be fun if we went to ridiculous extremes. And this guy now has this struggle where he's like going evil because he's scared of like a shadow, but we don't know anything about why he's scared of this shadow, why this shadow was scary, and it was introduced like 2 episodes to start his arc. So it's difficult to get invested or really care about the conflicts of what's happening, because I don't feel like the show has actually given us a reason to care about the characters, which is a shame because, again, I think, especially at the start, ridiculous energy to it that I love. But just, you know, it bizzled out for me. It bizzled out. I don't know if that's a word. It is now. I went to that. Where would we put it? Again, I wouldn't want to put it at D. I don't think it's actively bad. I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, this is badly written. Like, this is a horrible writing choice. It's just, it's explaining why I don't care. But if it's mostly just indifferent, then it's C. C. Don't worry, we'll get something at D. I have a couple upcoming, or at least one. The next one is Time for Torture Princess. This Time for Torture Princess was very fun. The opening, not the entire opening, but a specific, maybe the second chorus, I think, is a comfort song to me. Just a specific chorus, and not the entire song, really. It's lovely, really. It gets a bit repetitive. I think the series mostly, it's about this princess who gets tortured, but really nicely. That's it. But it's a comedy series, you know. And I think it gets a bit repetitive with the jokes. It just about manages to get around it and keep it fresh, but definitely where it was just announced a second season, and I'm like, I'm not watching a second season. You know, it was almost just that too repetitive for me in this one. I don't think it managed to, you know, keep it going. But it is very cute, very fun, very charming. I like all the characters a lot. There's this other show that they had maybe a few years back with the sleepy princess who was also kidnapped, but her deal wasn't nice tortures. Her deal was that she just wanted to sleep. Was that what's going on? I think this one has a much stronger side cast. So actually, characters overall is much stronger in this one, which allows for better comedy. It also looks quite good. So yeah, good watch. I don't see any reason why I would ever check out second season. I feel a bit bad putting it with Dungeon Meshi, but I don't want to put Dungeon Meshi is one of those where the last two episodes I feel like, oh yeah, this is up here, but I want to watch a bit more before I actually bounce it up. I wouldn't say these two on the same level, honestly, but you know, it's, I don't have so many tiers. I could probably make like a B.5 or something, but I'm not gonna B.5. I'm not gonna do that. Doctor Who. You remember when earlier in the video I praised Series 1 that was showrun by someone called Russell T Davies. He's great at it. He, you know, fantastic. Probably the most popular showrunner. This is Series 12. So an odd 20 years later. And it sucks. It's one of the worst things I've seen in television. It's showrun by this guy called Chris Chibnall, maybe. Oh god, it's awful. We'll go through this one. There's a lot to talk about if I have the energy. I'm quite distant ahead, obviously. I mean, honestly, see, mixing up words. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ, these fucking things. Oh, it was bad. So, it starts out with this Spyfall episode, which is a two-parter opening episode. It's supposed to be a homage to James Bond, I meant. I was gonna say John Jameson, but James Bond. It's supposed to be a homage to that, basically. That's pretty fun. That's a fun way, and I don't think Doctor Who has ever really done a James Bond kind of story. So that was fun. Car chases and sneaking into casinos and dressing up in suits, and that's fun. But it's really... So the first season, Shipper's first season, Series 11, was very understated, very minimalist. No classic monsters, for example. They were all new monsters, and the monsters were quite passive overall. A lot of them were misunderstood, or like not actually going to do this, or quite weak, or yada yada. So it was quite minimalist, which I think I thought it was an interesting approach to it. I don't think it really worked, but you know, I'll commend them for it. And it's okay, that was an interesting thing that you did. It's good. A new showrunner should do interesting, bold things. When you're a showrunner, you can't just, you know... Actually, I'm gonna say this here, but the thing with Series 11 too is that it did too minimalist as well, so it didn't really... It wasn't bold. It was a new style, but he didn't really do anything specific. When Moffat took over as showrunner in Series 5, he kind of took it on by storm, you know. He did really... Series 5 is known as an extremely strong season because he does a lot with it. Not in a maximalist sense, but he manages to do a lot of interesting, bold things. Chibnall very much, you know, took it easy, took it, you know, very broad, very for the general audience. And I do think it was popular with the audience at the time, which Moffat's later seasons, which are a bit more niche, I suppose, weren't. But this one, his new series, or his second series, is Series 12, very maximalist, very maybe he felt like it didn't work the first season. And so now, you know, we don't just have the Masters back, for example. How she died as Missy doesn't matter. Quite frankly, it doesn't matter. I think every showrunner should get a chance to try out their depiction of the Master. You know, you can't just... If Davies and Moffat got a chance to do their own spin on the Master, and the showrunner should too. I don't have an issue with that. I guess it's a bit of a... it's a bit of a shame still that it was literally just one season prior to that. Or like one season in between, more so. Like Missy was already there. Not only was Missy there, there were two Masters, two versions of the Master, and we immediately bring her back, and the episode treats it like this big thing. But it's not, because like we just had her and him. Not even that, but a big thing with Capaldi's season finale, the 12th Doctor, was the Missy, the female version of the Master. If some are watching this and aren't following, she kind of stood with the Doctor. She went on his side in the end. He doesn't know, but she did. And now she's brought back as this new Master immediately, and he's evil. I feel like at least maybe Shimra could have included something like, oh yeah, this is actually a previous incarnation, so before Missy. So we don't immediately trample on Missy's Arc. I know it could never stand as like the final version of the Master, but you know, something. Tried to tackle it in any way, but he just ignored it completely. So that kind of sucks. Shimon also has this... In Spyfall Part 2, Spyfall Part 1 is pretty okay. Spyfall Part 2 is pretty awful. It has this... It has several scenes, actually, where... So Moffat did an episode in Series 6, which I would say is one of his weaker scripts, but Shibble makes it seem like, you know, a fucking godly work. But it's called Let's Kill Hitler. And in that episode, the Doctor's transferred back to Nazi Germany, and he accidentally saves Hitler from being killed. So obviously, you know, he didn't intend to do that. But instead of grappling with, you know, should we kill Hitler, should we not kill Hitler? Because that's like a classic time travel scenario, right? They lock Hitler in a cupboard, and then they go and fight some aliens. Basically, Moffat is ridiculing the idea to put the Doctor in these scenarios because he can't do anything. The Doctor can't save the real world, you know, he can't undo the Holocaust. It would be distasteful to kill Hitler, like, and then save all the Jews. And then it would also be like grappling at all this trauma from the victims who, you know, still alive. Well, maybe not direct victims, I'm sure there's someone. But, you know, people who are still affected by the Holocaust and the Second World War in general. So it would be distasteful to get wrapped up in that. So Moffat basically made a light of that. You know, the Doctor can't kill Hitler. He can kill aliens. So let him do that. You know, there's no point in putting him in these scenarios because you're just unnecessarily reveling in real life trauma, and then it would be distasteful to actually save people, like kill Hitler or something. So, you know, just ignore it. Don't do those sort of stories. The Doctor Who isn't built for that. So that was the point that Let's Kill Hitler episode did. Spyfall, of course, Shivlov's episode. I guess he missed that, or he didn't watch the episode, because they go back to Nazi Germany. Not Nazi Germany, but they go back to like Nazi-occupied location. I don't remember. I don't remember where, but it's the Second World War. They're Nazis, right? And the Master, it's you can't see this guy. He, as you can see, he's a person of color. And he works with the Nazis because he's put a perception filter over him, so he's seen as the Aryan ideal. And then the Doctor uses that against them because she takes away his perception filter, and then she throws him to the Nazis, and then she says, now they'll see the real you. What the fuck? The Doctor's using Nazism against such a gross thing. And then just later in the episode, fucking, she takes Noor Inayat Khan, I hope I pronounced that right, like on a space and time travel trip, which is fun. She's with Amanda Lice or something, Amanda Love, the girl who invented the computer, whatever. So 3 famous smart women, you know, they travel in time. That's fun. You can do that. But then the Doctor takes Noor Inayat Khan back. And the thing with Noor is that she died in a concentration camp, with a bullet through her. So, pretty grim ending, but the Doctor doesn't, mention it or anything. Noor Inayat Khan actually, doesn't want the memories to be gone. Or maybe she's not awake for it, but the Doctor takes away her memories anyway and just, oh, you can't remember this, you have stuff to do here, and you do great, and yada yada. Okay, but what the Doctor is basically doing is letting her die in a concentration camp. And the episode doesn't acknowledge it, because obviously Doctor Who can't acknowledge that. I mean, it's a family show. But then, it's still making that situation into a narrative, and then just ignore it. It's the same when in Series 11, the previous series, they had this Rosa Parks, and where, for some reason, the episode was convinced that Rosa Parks had to sit down at a specific bus, or the entire, anti-racism movement, civil justice, civil rights movement, God, it basically wouldn't happen. When, in fact, this wasn't it wasn't like an accident. I mean, Rosa Parks had planned this. She would just sit another bus another day. Also, she's not the sole person behind the entire movement. Anyway, the episode was convinced that she had to sit down at a specific bus, or, white would rule for all of eternity. It's a bad episode, stupid in many ways, but then what basically happens is that she has to be complicit with systemic racism. She actually encourages her companions, don't help her, and don't do anything, and yada yada, and actually sit there as onlookers, not helping her and then contributing to. It's one of those. And Kerblan was another episode where she saved space hours for road workers. The Doctor's just very pro-establishment, and she uses systems like fascism and racism to her own needs. That's like the Doctor's doing it. It's very poor. Off of 55, I'm told that is like one of the, maybe the worst episode of the era. It seems that people think so. I thought it was pretty good, actually. You can see her even the score, 6.8, 4.8, 6.2. I thought it was pretty good. I thought the ending a bit too much happened in the ending, but I liked it. I thought the dialogue was good. There's some bad stuff with this one too. The revolutionary is shown as a trampling child, child who would just kill anyone and everything. But whatever. I mean, that's just typical Gibro stuff. But otherwise, I thought it was kind of fun. The guy who wrote this, Ed Heim, I think, he wrote my favorite episode of the previous season, or my second favorite. Demon Suit to Punjab is my favorite from Series 11. But yeah, since my hot take is that this is one of the best episodes this season. Nikola Tesla's Night of Horror was just lifeless to me. I mean, I like seeing Nikola Tesla, I guess, but yeah, no, nothing. Fugitive of the Doom was another one where basically just the 45 minutes teaser, what's to come, and what's to come obviously isn't good. But at least this is Chibra's actually doing something bold now. He's taking control of the show, he's marking it with himself, because he's introducing new versions of the Doctor, who we didn't know existed beforehand, yada yada. I don't like the idea because of how Shibra does it, but at least he's doing something. It's not just like he's making it his own. That's good. A showrunner should do both things. Praxis sucked. Can You Hear Me also sucked. Completely forgettable episodes. That one was just bad also. Yeah, this one is a bit better. Haunting of Villa Diodati is quite good. Again, in the context of this show and any other non-Shibra season, it would be a low point. But Haunting of Villa Diodati is good otherwise. It has a bit of an issue where the Doctor is like, oh, I have to save, I can save either this random person here, or not even this random person, excuse me, I can either save this famous person with great literature value to the future, like here, or I can, but it would mean that billions of people might die in the future because of a Cyberman invasion. And then she has an issue with this. And then, someone says, but billions would die. And she says, yes, but this is a very famous offer. And it's like, so the Doctor's basically saying, some people are more important than others. And not that Doctor Who hasn't ever done that before, but to make an entire more dilemma out of it, it's pretty distasteful. And it shouldn't be something that Doctor Who engages in, being a show that should be very in touch with humanism at its core. It's a very bad moral dilemma. Otherwise, the episode is quite fine. Probably the best characterization the 13th Doctor has gotten. So that's good. Station of the Cyberman. We can talk about this because it's a two-parter. Time Machine is probably the most the most famous thing from Chibnall's era. Obviously, it's bad. It's bad conceptually. Full-on spoilers for this part, but it's bad conceptually in the sense that the Doctor is basically revealed to be the source of the Time Lord's regeneration ability, and that the Doctor actually came from a different universe, was abandoned here, and has infinite regenerations. And they used the Doctor, but deleted their memories or something, to build up the entire Time Lord civilization. So the issue that this is bad conceptually is just because the Doctor shouldn't be. It's fitting that the show, being as pro-establishment as it has ever been under Chibnall, is also now makes the Doctor the most pro-establishment, like from birth. She's not just, some commoner who wasn't very good and fled away from the planet because he was scared. Now she's like the most Time Lord ever. She has infinite regeneration. She's the most special Time Lord ever by birth, It's the shows in one trope. It's very poor and it's very cliche, and it doesn't fit the character because she's not supposed to be born special. The entire thing is that she's not born privileged. She's not born with special power. She's special because she does things. She chooses to do good things. And not because she's special, but because it's the right thing to do, and that anyone can do it. Any commoner can do it, So that's the bad thing conceptually. Excuse me. The bad thing execution-wise is it's boring. It's basically like a slideshow. It's just exposition. The Master expositions things about her past. And my dad loved it for some reason. But again, I'll say it's bold, but it's a boring episode because they just talk about it and exposition. That's bad conceptually. I think it's interesting to compare this to one of my favorite story in all of Doctor Who is the three-parter at the end of Series 9, which is the Moffat season. Face the Raven, Heaven Sent and Hellbent. Hellbent in particular is an episode. The entire season had been building up this sort of hybrid plotline. Who's the hybrid? Yada yada. This show does offer a sort of answer to people who were curious. But Hellbent is very much an explicit rejection of that sort of narrative, hinging, the entire series finale is some big unraveling of who the Doctor and Time Lord Society really is, and just as no, that doesn't matter. What Hellbent actually does is that it focuses on Doctor and his relationship with Clara, his duty of care to her, and how much he loves her, and how it affects him and her emotionally when they're together and when they're apart, and it's concluding their relationship. So that's something Moffat often does. He also does it in Good Man Goes to War, where he builds up this rape revenge fantasy and then brings it down to earth and says, no, actually this doesn't do anything. What you need to do is help the victims, help them heal, help them rebuild, come back, because you're not some warrior, some god of war. You're a doctor. You help people, you heal people. So Moffat often builds it up as this big thing, and then it takes it back to show that doesn't matter. What actually matters is the intimate. So Hellbent was basically an explicit ridicule of an episode like The Timeless Children, where you don't make big episodes out of lore, out of a backstory, out of some exposition. It's supposed to be about character, and that's what actually matters. Again, Chibnall just doesn't seem to have understood. Whatever. I don't know. Anyway, it's terrible. It is one of the worst things I've seen, and it's terrible because I love Doctor Who. But yeah, that's what it is. What is the next show on our list? The Apothecary Diaries. Ooh. I'll move this a bit. The Apothecary Diaries is interesting. Really interesting. I'm just saying words to keep on talking. The Apothecary Diaries was good. intelligent, subtle, crafty. It's not a show that's always super interesting to me because some episodes just mini mysteries and it's like, alright, this is fine, I guess. Sometimes I might think, oh, this was a particularly interesting mystery. Or sometimes I think, you know, I would have needed a bit more to actually be able to solve it myself. I feel like that was a bit by coincidence. So some episodes are just kind of, you know, whatever. But it's always interesting, and sometimes the show is really good. Especially this last half has been digging a lot into Mama's character and her relationships and her parents and yada yada. It ended very whatever. It ended very strongly. I don't really have much to say that I haven't said already. I guess another narrative with like the cast is the highlight, which again is the problem for me. Or I guess not the problem, just the seeding kind of. Because, oh my god, you love the characters? I like Mao. Do you like anyone else? I mean, I like Yinshi, but I don't love Yinshi. It's a one-woman show, basically. And then it kind of varies from week to week, depending on the mini-mystery. So it's not the type of narrative that I tend to favor. But I think it does it very well. And again, it ended strongly, and there's some great stuff in there. I liked it a lot. And I'm excited for season 2. I watched it with my dad. He liked it a lot, too. We put it at A. Oh god. There we go. A. Lovely. Where's the next one? Argonavis from Bank Green. What time is it? Alright, we're good. Argonavis was good. No, what am I saying? Again, this is just, I do this off the cuff, you know. I haven't practiced or written down notes or anything. So, actually, Argonavis wasn't good. I thought it was quite boring, and an issue with men is that they're really bland, especially in idol shows, but the girls are all really colorful and bubbly and gets to have all these cute dresses and skirts and costumes and everything, and they have really colorful personalities and you know, really extreme, you know, boys are much more subdued, broody, or it's just boring. It's boring. Boys are boring. So I know I don't know. I just really miss the show here. I miss shows sometimes. Anyway, I watched an Idolmaster boy show as well. I thought that one was more fun because it has the Idolmaster charm, which I think works better. But this one has no charm. It's just empty to me completely. I didn't like this one at all. I put that here actually. I did not like that. Again, a shame because the Bang Dream, like with the girls, pretty fucking fun. By the way, will be a lot of Bang Dream next month, which is next week too. It's this week actually, and film is April the 1st. Next episode, or next thing, Doctor Who Evolution of the Daleks. This is just a New Year special. Again, Shibbo took away the Christmas specials for New Year special because he sucks and wants to ruin everything that I like. But yeah, it's okay. It's pretty bombastic. I thought it was fun to watch. It was kind of built up as this thing about the Doctor being imprisoned in this intergalactic prison. I thought it would be a Prison Break episode, but then that got solved in like 2 minutes. So disappointment because again, Shibboleth can't follow through on anything. But other than that, I thought it was pretty fun. You know, I can nitpick the last scene, for example. I thought it was kind of, you know, odd in how it treated Ryan's motivation. Not necessarily at first, but then yeah. Anyway, I can nitpick this all day, but overall, I thought it was kind of fun. These two left, Graham and Ryan. So I guess we'll just have girls traveling the TARDIS now. That's the first only girl TARDIS. That's pretty fun. They could have been lesbians. Unfortunately, neither of them show any romantic interest towards anyone whatsoever. I put it at C. It was alright. The next one is the first Christmas special, the Christmas Invasion. This is, of course, also the first episode with David Tennant as a Doctor. There he is in his jammies and his robe. It's pretty fun. It's very much a Davis on autopilot kind of episode. Nothing special, but it's fun. It sets up some broad stuff for Tennant's arc, and he has a bit of a self-centeredness streak which comes back to bite him sometimes. It doesn't really get resolved in the end consciously, although I don't think that always works, and Davis should criticize it more than he does, and sometimes tone it down a bit when he wants us to feel something else. But we'll get to that when actually we watch those parts. But yeah, no, it's pretty fun. Probably one of the weak Christmas specials, just because I don't think there's anything really to it. It's good. So something with actually we can wake with that, but something with Davis Christmas specials is that they tend to be just lightweight, and they tend to be popcorn flicks, blockbuster kind of Christmas specials. So they're very light, and a lot of stuff happens because it's supposed to be something that the entire family can watch for Christmas after dinner and after having open presents. And even people who haven't, like, who doesn't usually watch Doctor Who, is meant to be able to sit down and watch this. So that's why, you know, there won't be anything really interesting, or like I mean, they can be interesting, but not really interesting. You know, something bold or unique or something. It's just a Christmas special. It was nice, but yeah, one of the weaker ones for me. I'd put it up here, honestly. I mean, it's obviously better than that one, but I mean, that's the lowest bar in hell. What a half after that? Eraserhead. Eraserhead is the only movie I watched. Again, I was sick. This April is actually going to be jam-packed with shows if I can somehow follow my schedule, because I made a detailed schedule. Otherwise, I've just done, you know, just I watch an episode when I feel like it, which I realize is a bad thing for me, because then I don't watch it. So also, I really got into Doctor Who brain rot this season, this month, because of season 1. So yeah, but anyway, Eraserhead. Yeah. I get the appeal, I guess. I watched it with some friends, and one of my friends, we might not be friends outside of that Discord actually, but I call him my friend. He basically said that he thought that the movie was a really good depiction, or like most strongly like depicted the feeling of, what was this, despair? Not despair, like fright or fruktan. What is that in fruktan engelska? Fear, not fear. Fright? No, dread. That's the word he used, dread. And I was like, really? I guess, but I have issues with these movies that are supposed to be so good, simply either because they just take. I watched a part of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and it was alright. I didn't finish it, so you know, I won't talk too much about it. But I feel like a lot of these old movies, not all old movies, again, I watch a lot of old movies too, and I loved a lot of them too. Just this December, I watched It's a Wonderful Life, which I thought was great. I also watched 12 Angry Men, which I also thought was great. So, you know, I'm not like some guy who can't enjoy old movies or anything. I can enjoy plenty. But I do feel like a lot of classics that people really hype up are either just good because they're technically well made, and that doesn't really do it for me because I need narrative, or they're really good at like capturing one specific thing, and then they're like abstract musings on it. So this is what Eraserhead felt like to me. Okay, maybe there's some kind of added joy you can make there if you really read a bunch of interviews from Lynch and whatever. Maybe it captures the feeling of dread, but I don't come out. I don't get much out of a whole 2-hour movie. It wasn't 2 hours, but just being, you know, this is the sensation of dread. Okay, what else? Yeah. It didn't do much for me. I thought it was interesting and definitely creative. So, you know, I have fun watching it, but not for me, basically. Where do we put it? We put there. Where are we up to now? Can we get something else joining there? Can we? We can. It's coming. Doctor Who, the complete second series. The second series is... The second series is a bit rocky for me. And I think it's mainly because Rose doesn't really work in the second season, and she doesn't work with the Doctor. Like this specific version, the 10th Doctor, Tennant's Doctor. I really like her with Eccleston's Doctor, the 9th Doctor. And I think they really pushed each other well, and she had her whole little arc. And that's the thing. After season 1, from what I heard, she wasn't originally meant to continue, but she wanted to, so they had to do like a lot of rewrites suddenly. But you can feel it because her arc ended, and she doesn't get to do much. It's over. And I feel like I don't really like them together too much because Tennant and Rose are too smug together, a bit annoying. Which I know is intentional by Davis, but it doesn't really make it endearing. I don't know, the romance never really worked for me, and I don't like the Doctor when he's too, Rose becomes everything to him, and he's completely obsessed with her. Although you can argue if it's romantic from his point of view. The season finale ends, without him managing to say it, although mostly for dramatic effect, which is very good. Davis is good at this stuff. But yeah, I don't really think they work well together. And again, her character should ended like a season back, so she kind of just hangs around, and I think she's charming now. But yeah. Anyway, so fun. Half of the season is kind of weak. Actually, a lot of weak episodes. But then there was some great stuff too, like the Satan Pit. That's a great two-parter. The last two. The season finale is one of those. She basically disappears into a parallel universe, and she's stuck there, separated from a doctor. But she kind of has a pretty good departure because she gets to be with her dead dad, now alive, obviously. Her mom, her boyfriend. I mean, every companion gets separated from the doctor. She gets the best possible option out of it. And then in season 4, she gets reunited with this doctor, and then she gets her own doctor clone, but human. So they probably marry and have sex. So yeah, it's difficult to feel sad for her when I'm sitting here and I feel like, oh, you got the most possible happy ending out of them all. And the show really bends their way out of it because they portray Rose as, the most special important person ever. I don't know why they made such a big deal out of her, no longer being a companion. Eggerson's doctor didn't get this kind of build up. And he was like, yeah. Anyway, the show seems to think that she's the most important, character in ever. And I mean, I sort of get why, because at the time, her romance with the 10th Doctor is what kind of skyrocketed the show into popularity. So I get it. Personally, I don't really like them together, and I think Donna Noble is the Doctor's best companion, and I think right now that is the consensus. So where will we put it? I mean, I'll put it at B. It's good, but yeah, it's not too good. Sengoku Yokuo, I don't really have anything to say about this. It's just continuing from where it was. I think I like 3 episodes behind too, so yeah, I don't have anything to say. It's good, but are we getting 3 cores, or are we getting 1 3-length core? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what we're getting actually. But okay, it's fine. Put it at C. I'm not too interested in it so far. Could change, but it's a long one, so we'll see. Undead Unluck ended. Undead Unluck took a while. Once I started to introduce the world building and the lore behind that a bit more, that's really grabbed me because there's some super cool ideas there. But then in terms of like narrative and character and stuff, sorry, I'm trying to pull out my pant leg. It really grabbed me just by the end here. Just by the end, it really started to feel like, oh, it's clicking now, and then it ended. So I'll probably read a manga. Probably, yeah. I'll say I would. Again, I don't really have anything more to say about it. It's fun. It's fun. It's got cool ideas. Takes a while. You'll know if you stop watching it now and you're wondering when would that world building thing happen that catches my interest. You'll know. Because it will catch you off guard. Yeah, no, it was fun. But where to put it? Put it a B. Put it a B. What else? 3 left. Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Frieren stayed very good. Of course, again, Frieren is a show that works the best when it does, a friend of mine described it as an Iyashike, which a lot of people made fun of him for, but I would say, yeah, that's the default mood it is. I would say that's the genre that it dabbles in, and that's what's so special about it. Not the bad thing, but I guess the unfortunate thing is that it's not only an Iyashike. At the base it is, and that does still permeate throughout it entirely, but it has its shonen arcs, One arc is about fighting demons, and now this last arc, 12 episode long arc, has been like this magic exam. It was fun. I liked the new characters, especially the lesbians. Really cute and hot. So it was fun, and some episodes still take some downtime, and it's overall chill. When I criticize this, you have to remember I still really like it, and I think it's very good. But it's just not what Frieren does best, and I do think it's wasting its time with something which has been out of its element. I mean, I guess I appreciate the variety of stuff an arc tries to do, but if you want to reach that, this is something really special. You have to actually stick to what makes it so special, and not just make. I wouldn't say the Magic Exam arc really stands out as an exam arc, like if you compare it to other exam arcs like Counter Exam or anything, or Tuning exams. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I think you should stick more to the show to this actually, special at it if it wants to be a special show. But for now, it's a show that is often profound, but not always, and it dabbles in stuff that it really isn't the best at. But it's always fun, it's always good. Hey, what next? Doctor Who, The Runaway Bride. This is the Christmas special that I watched yesterday evening, actually. It's good. It's very good. I think, actually, this is maybe the Christmas special. Well, I'd have to rewatch Voyage of the Damned, maybe. But I think if you wanted to show an episode, especially on Christmas, to really encapsulate the Davies era, this is the best one. I think it's very lighthearted, but it has all the good Doctor Who stuff. It really feels like a good one. You want to show what the Davies era is like on a vibe level, this is a great one. And of course it introduces one of the best companions ever in the form of Donna Noble. It's great. It's a really good Christmas special. I liked it a surprising lot, actually. I didn't think I'd like it that much. Would have put it at an A, but I put it at a B. I did give it an 8. Dressrosa. Dressrosa is good. Really good, like, wow. Dressrosa is a bit of a difficult arc to talk about because I read it January. Did I start in January? I think I started in January. I only finished it now. Yesterday, actually, March 31st. So a lot of stuff I don't really remember enough off the top of my head. Dressrosa is maybe the epitome of the arc that like juggles a bunch of different interlocking parts, all with their own moving storyline. We have the Star Wars storyline. We have the Tantatas. We have the Rebecca storyline with her father, and a bunch of these moving emotional parts, and then all the interlocking. What is Doflamingo doing? How does he relate to the previous kings and his backstory and his relationship between his henchmen, where he definitely sees them as pawns and tools, but at the same time he has affection for them because he views them as his true family. He doesn't punish them for failing him, but he does punish them for betraying him, because that he feels is a violation to the family ideal that he's built here out of the broken family that he had as a kid. And then it basically builds up to this gigantic fucking battle. A bunch of all these sub-generals against the Straw Hats and this big like giant stone monster, and then Luffy here unlocks his Gear 4 and he beats the Flamingo, but not quite. And then at the end he says, I'll knock him out with one knockout, and it's great. It's maybe one of the few I've cried a lot to One Piece, but in terms of like sheer just the ending of a fight, are not like an emotional story to it. I mean, it's emotional story either way, but like just like at the end of a fight for the sake of the end of the fight, like the battle has been won, I cried for Dressrosa. I don't think that has happened before that I cried just for that, like at the ending of an arc. But this was so monumental. It's such a complicated arc. The climax really pulls it all together, and it feels like an extremely. I mean, the core theme of One Piece is liberating the oppressed from their oppressors. That's, by the way, the best theme of all time. But so I feel it felt so much more monumental here, I guess, because it really was an entire society under the steel heel of this insurmountable dynasty. We'll call it that. I guess it just felt really monumental when they beat the Flamingo, and then all the community helping out, and I really love when they flashed at the end of the fight where Luffy was gonna beat, and they said everything that Luffy's done and everything that they've all accomplished together, and so good. It's really, really good. I picked it up here actually. I thought maybe we could go through it in case there's anything interesting. Oh yeah, so the really interesting thing is immediately is the toys. It's a really interesting setting because we introduced these toys that we introduced these toys that basically the toys, living toys in the society, and you start thinking, oh, okay, why are they living toys? Why are they walking around? Why are they talking? What's going on? And then you learn, oh, okay, but these toys aren't actually toys. Were they from we humans? I mean, I know, but and then what's going on there? Why can't people remember them? What do they need toys for? Why didn't they just kill them? What's the point of da 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 da? It's a very interesting, immediate thing to separate a setting from, making it very playful, which the Flamingo is. It's very flamboyant and engages in a lot of play, and not necessarily in his fighting, but in his general personality. What is he doing in his free time? He lounges around. He does. Maybe he does casino things and a woman, and it's not a serious guy when he's like in his natural state. So it makes sense that the setting is a bit playful as well. Let's see here. Oh yeah, there's the Colosseum, the Korea Colosseum. The Colosseum suffers a bit too many characters, and it's like a bit too many characters, and you start to feel like maybe this is a bit boring with 2 minutes, just fights. But it's a great way to separate Luffy. Luffy is basically if he's there all the time, he just beat people because he always wins basically. Low battery. Well, maybe I managed to finish this. But basically Luffy, it's separated and he gets to do this tournament arc. I'm surprised actually that this is the first time One Piece did a tournament arc. I would have figured, since it's a battle shonen, that it would have popped up before, but this is the first time. There's a great way to keep Luffy out of the main action for a while, but get him. We got a lot of cool fights. So that's cool. That's a very cool way. We got a lot of cool guys. The thing is too that they introduce a lot of these side characters, and then they come back in a final battle and they help Luffy. And I'd say Dressrosa probably has a stronger side cast out of an arc yet in the season. Yeah, there's some stuff there. We don't need to talk about that. What else do we have? What is interesting? Oh yeah, these were captured by like the Big Mom pirates or something. Nami and Brook and Sanji are separated from the rest of the cast. This isn't their arc, but we reunite. That's something interesting. The manga can separate the Straw Hats from time to time. When they had their own adventures and things. Law had this big backstory, of course, but we'll get to that later, I suppose. We'd have to scroll. This is a really long article, and I kind of like scroll through the entire thing and stop and everything. But maybe we can talk actually about Rebecca. So Rebecca is the daughter of someone. I mean, I won't give away what is anything. But so an issue that I had with Rebecca is basically that she's supposed to kind of when her father comes back, she's not allowed to. He says, you shouldn't have to fight. You fought to survive, but now I, as a parent, am here. The child shouldn't have to sully her hands. It's like, okay, makes sense. That's a good way to. You couldn't be there for her, so she didn't have to do it. But now that you are, she doesn't have to. But at the same time, it's like, the girl doesn't get to do anything. Like the one girl in the Colosseum, she doesn't get to fight. Nami's already away, she can't really fight. Robin, I mean, sometimes she does things, but she's not really a fighter either. So if it's like, and then the costume, which is basically a bikini armor, and it's like, what a sexism is the worst part of the manga. It's maybe the big issue in part 2, time skip. It's the only issue, I'd say. I mean, I have small nibbles maybe on specific plot beats or story beats or character stuff, but like a structural fundamental things, that's the only issue I have, honestly. It's very annoying actually. But other than that, at least the character's not really shown to perv on her or anything, and she's pretty. I mean, when the characters are sexualized in One Piece, even when Sanji, when he likes fawn over Nami, he fawns over her, like looks at her. I don't think he ever touches her really, or ropes her, or like even peeks on her or anything. He's a gentleman, he's supposed to be, but just when she's there, he does fawn over her. This is more so that he doesn't really get to do anything else. Well, I mean, it's annoying in a way, you could tone it down. But that's maybe the thing with women as well. Like, the women in One Piece are well written. And sometimes the passiveness does work in the narrative, like Rebecca. But overall, the women don't get to fight, really. So that sucks. But I really like Rebecca, actually. And I loved her conclusion. I thought it was very sweet. And I cried a bit, so... Oh yeah. Corazon, of course. I wouldn't say it's maybe not one of my favorite backstories. Some of these backstories start to feel a bit samey. Not so much that it's a big issue, but maybe in the sense that I could kind of figure out where it was going, when it started. But for Lost backstory, it was very good for what it was, of course. And it gained a lot of interesting stuff to his dynamic with Doflamingo. So not complaining. Let's check. Oh boy. Okay. Well, we'll see if we can. I don't think there's anything more here that I really. Oh, Kaido is badass as fuck. Yeah, no. It's just. I think. How should I say this? I compared Dressrosa to Alabasta because I thought Alabasta was also an arc in the pre-time skip that I was a bit less high on. I really liked Alabasta, but I have a very slightly harder time getting into One Piece arcs that are really a lot about plot and a bunch of moving parts and conspiracies and kingdoms and yada yada yada. And I prefer a bit simpler narratives, like Skypiea. Because I think I managed to tap into the raw humanism of the series a bit better. But again, this is a minor thing. I thought it was fantastic. Doflamingo, of course, is scary. I love his abilities, and I loved the backstory and how he conquered the kingdom was horrific in the most wonderful way. And I really like his relationships with all the his henchmen, and how it's a mixture of. He sees them as his tools, and he sees them as genuine members of his family, and what he's okay with them crossing, what is not okay with them crossing. There's an interesting point to be made that I think does show a bit of a limitation on Oda's part. There's in his brother's-in-law's backstory, Doflamingo's brother says that Doflamingo was born evil, but he wasn't. Really, he was shaped by his environment. It's honestly lucky that you got away like a good person. It makes total sense that the Flamingos, because of this is a privilege that he was born into. He feels that was stripped away from him, and then he feels that the reaction to it was unjust, like by the people, because he's above the people, so he doesn't deserve this, and his broken family and his resentment towards that goes into him creating a new family, and specifically calling it a family, and like the environment shapes them, and the narrative shows that very clearly, but I think the author sometimes puts a bit too much on, you know, the bad. Again, if we just cut out that line, it wouldn't have showed in the narrative at all. But it reminds me in Fishman Island, Hobie there basically says, they basically say nothing. You know, he's motivated by nothing. He just races him for the sake of it. But you know, that's not true. He lives in a hierarchical society where they're still oppressed. You know, that's institutional racism, and it's gonna seep into his way of thinking and how he feels, even if he never directly confronts with any racist. And again, this is perfectly shown in his backstory, but yet Oda puts in a line about how it's a personal thing about him. Anyway, I think Oda could put a bit more emphasis, or maybe not even more emphasis, just cut out the parts where he tries to paint it a bit more on the individual. It's very much the environment thing, completely on Doflamingo's part. And he was too young to he was born into it, and if you got away from it, it's not because Doflamingo was a good person, it was because you were lucky. Likely you wouldn't have gotten away from it as a good person. So okay, yeah, but where would I put it? S. What is probably there. I mean, not all this ordered, but just took such a long break with this one. I said this one clicked most, more brain rot with this one, but I mean both a 9 out of 10. So yeah, for the next month, I mean the next 2 months, I mean April and May, I'm gonna be watching a lot of Doctor Who, because the new season is coming out, and One Piece will be back after that, so there will be a 2-month break, but then it's so I can put my sole attention on that One Piece eventually. So that's why we're doing this. But yes, that's it. Thank you for checking in. Maybe this video actually got as long as it usually is anyway. Even if there were like 10 less shows than usual. But you know, I'll check in with you again. April, I'll have watched more stuff by then. I'll probably be in a chipper mood. I do still think my first video is the best one at portraying how I usually talk. Yeah, so forgive me for being sick, and let's see each other later. Bye bye.